Right. Trent.
There
Okay.
you go. I got you.
All right. Hey, Nick, how are you?
Pretty good. What's going on, Sean? How you guys doing?
Oh, not too much.
I'm sorry.
Nice to meet you, man.
Let's get a lot of things going on.
So, Nick, let's
Mhm.
let's kind of rewind the clock a little bit, and I'm sure that you've probably answered this at some point in time, but with the way podcasts and interviews go, I could scour
Mhm.
the internet for years and probably never find it. Um,
Okay.
when when did you kind of start to figure out like home gym training well, I guess let's even back up a little bit further. When did you figure out that you were, whether it was lifting weights in high school or something, and you realized like, wow, I'm really strong.
Um, I kind of started figuring that out about my senior year of high school. When I squatted like 490, benched like 320, and deadlifted like four and a quarter in high school and won the Nevada State Championship, which kind of got me into powerlifting at that time. I had to do it for football. My sophomore year, I was like 5'3" and about 130 pounds. And by my senior year, I was 6 foot and about 200 pounds. And I put on some good size and got a lot stronger and kind of kept following with powerlifting after I finished college football. And that's where I kind of really got into it and started realizing I'm starting to break California state records and stuff like that and realize I maybe be pretty good at this lifting thing. So, plus I was one of the stronger guys on the football team, that type of stuff. One of the strongest guys on the football team. So it was one of those things that you just keep taking it up another notch. So that's kind of when I started to realize, and then winning nationals in '96 and '97, and then the ADFPA USAPL was pretty cool. So it's things like that that make you start to realize. And then in 2003, I went to a strongman contest at UNLV that Mark Philippi was putting on, and my son Dylan was with me, and he's like, and I'm just watching the guys compete. And it was like Grant Higa and John Anderson and Phil Fister and a few of the other guys, Carl Gillingham, stuff like that, guys who I competed against in powerlifting. And then I saw him get paid after that, and I was like, oh, you get paid? I was world champion in powerlifting and didn't get a dime, so this looks cool. And then my son looks at me and goes, Dad, you're strong. This is cool. You should do this. And the rest is history. The kid got me going in the right direction at 2.5 years old. It was pretty cool.
Dang. Do you still compete?
I'm going to compete. I'm going to do a powerlifting meet here at the Shaw Classic at the Strongest Man on Earth. The Expo's having a powerlifting meet there. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to squat 800 again and try to total 2,000 again. That'll be the 29th year if I'm able to do it. I already did it 27 years. I don't think anybody's done that, but going for 29. So we'll see what happens. And then later in the year, I'm going to do the official Strongman Games. I'll do Masters World Strongest Man in November in Dallas.
Okay, dang. Yeah, you've been in this forever. Have you, I know it's not really connected, but the whole bodybuilding aspect, have you ever contemplated maybe going for the aesthetics as opposed to the strength? I mean,
Yeah,
you've
no.
obviously got the size. No?
No.
Like, nah,
My
that's
joints are
not
way
for me.
too big. I figured that out a long time ago. There was a time where I was a 220er and my body fat was about 6%, and I was pretty lean, and I was thinking about it, and then I was just like, I'm just better at lifting heavy stuff. It's just
Yeah.
you figure it out.
Um, so all right, so once you started, your son had kind of helped you realize you were a little bit more well suited towards the strongman.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there's a lot of different uh, unique ways in which you display that types of strength,
Mm-hmm.
and you're well known in a variety of them. Um, you know, did you have a home gym as you started to train once you got into that realm, or were you training outside and like driveways, and how did that transition work? So you got into the strongman side of things, and then it's like, because you see a lot of even commercial quote unquote type gyms, they don't necessarily accommodate strongman. Powerlifting, yes, but strongman, it's
there's a
very rare to see that kind of stuff.
there's a handful around the country that accommodate very well, but most of the rest of them, it's very limited, if anything. And then you get the looks, or it's just dangerous to be doing some of the stuff in a regular gym if they're not set up for it. So, yeah, when I decided to make that transition, I started. I did the best I could at the gym I was at, and realized I wasn't going to make it. So after my second contest, I started collecting equipment. Van Hatfield lent me a log and an Atlas stone, or gave me a log and an Atlas stone. I still have both of those today. And then my next door neighbor, Jaime at the time, helped me build a yoke. And then I just started acquiring equipment as it went and weight to add to things, just out of necessity. And then all of a sudden I ended up with this massive home gym and equipment around the side of the house and in the backyard and everywhere else, which is great. I love it. I love training at home. I can walk. I don't have to travel to the gym. I don't have to travel back from the gym. I can train when I want. I don't have to wait for the equipment. I don't have to worry about the cleanliness of somebody else on the equipment or anything else. I can just sit down, do what I got to do, clean my own stuff, and go back to what I'm doing. So I like it a lot. I really do. It's been great. I mean, if I want to get up and work out at 5 in the morning, I can get up and work out at 5 in the morning. If I want to work out at 8 o'clock at night, I can work out at 8 o'clock at night. So I love working out on my own at home. There's nothing better than that, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it's been I think a blessing. I don't think I've saved any money over the years, but I think the convenience and the amount of time either in savings or,
Well,
like you said, like, you don't have to wait on anybody. You don't have to wait on machines. You don't have to wait. And you can kind of build the gym to the specs that you want the best. So in your case for
right.
strongman training, I mean, that was probably the most convenient.
Yeah, and companies like yours that make stuff specifically for home gyms help everything like move forwards. And you got to remember, it's not about saving money. It's about investing in yourself and investing in your longevity throughout life. It's not about saving money. Saving money is irrelevant. You can make more money, you can lose money, it doesn't matter. Money can always be replaced. Your health can't be replaced. Your training time can't be replaced. Training at home probably saves me 5-6 hours a week easy. I mean, just
Right.
in travel time between the one gym I can train at and coming home. So it's an investment in yourself. It's absolutely worthwhile. You're going to get nothing but
Right.
benefit from it. And that's just the way I see
Totally
it.
agree.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean, I would certainly. I mean, I would say naively when I first started that journey, I thought to myself, well, I'd only pick a few pieces, and then it would take care of itself, and then kind of realize that you go down this path of no return, and you start to realize how fun and and exciting, and it's very much in many ways almost like a collection,
yeah,
but
it's adult
something that you
Legos.
actually use. Yeah,
It's another
yeah. I
version
mean,
of
it is.
adult Legos, and just like guns, guns are a version of adult Legos. The further down the rabbit
Right.
hole you get, but
Yeah.
you get quality all the way through. I mean,
Correct.
no matter what you're doing, if you go down the rabbit hole and you invest in that area, you're gonna reap the rewards from it, and that's the greatest
Right.
thing about it is you reap the rewards by using your own stuff, and you get to spend your time, which is precious, way more wisely. There's no amount of money that can replace time, none.
Right.
So if you
Agreed.
save
Yeah.
if you save time from driving an hour down or 30 minutes down and 30 minutes back, you save an hour of driving time every day that you go to train. That's 5 hours a week times 52 weeks. That's 250 hours a year that you save that could be spent doing other
Right.
things,
Right.
which is
Yeah. I mean, it is
invaluable.
incredible once you start. Yeah. Once you start kind of putting the math together, you
Hmm.
start to realize how much time you do in fact save, and
Hmm.
uh, how actually dialed in your own training can be,
Oh boy.
as opposed to if you're at a gym and you're sitting and you're talking to Sam, Dick, and Harry every day for 30 minutes. You find out you're spending hours upon hours, while
Yeah.
the conversation might be nice, you're wasting time in terms of getting your training done. So
Mhm.
that's probably one thing I've noticed more than anything else is how actually more tight knit and compact my training can actually be now that you take all the outside noise and all the other resources out of the way. You can actually get in and get out and save yourself a ton of time.
Yeah,
So
you put on your
it has
music, you
been,
get your head screwed on right, and you go in,
yeah,
you put your work in, you get done, and then out the door you go. Now,
right.
and the cool thing
So
is a lot of home gyms have so much safety equipment now to where it's just as safe to lift in your garage as it is at the gym. I mean,
right.
that's also a massive
Yeah,
thing. You don't have to worry anymore. So,
right. That's something that has definitely uh, that innovation has moved the needle forward without a doubt. Where in many ways it's almost becoming a requirement. It seems like across the country, you're
mhm,
seeing more and more people are going that route, especially if they can either put it in their garage, put it in their basement. They've got a place, when they're either building a home or moving to a new home.
mhm.
That's starting to become one of. And I think COVID really showcased that too.
Oh
When
boy.
of all the things they were telling us, gyms were that, and fitness and staying healthy was one of the catalysts that I think kind of drove that needle of people realizing like, wow, I have no access to the gym now. And I think it opened up a lot of people's eyes that, uh, you know, we need to invest in ourselves
Yeah,
and we need to invest in something here, not just for you as maybe parents, but then for you and the rest of your family and your kids and things like that.
because
So,
it invests in everybody. And then you get to see what your kids are doing. You get to see who's around your kids because there's positive influences and negative influences as well. So you get to see who's around them, and it's an investment in them, and it's a good life skill to teach them. Both my
yeah,
kids train. My son just bought his own house at 24, and he's already got a gym in the garage.
yeah.
It's one of those things
Well,
that,
he learned from the best, that's for sure. So,
right.
um, you know, and that's interesting because you and your family
Hmm.
were featured on the History Channel. I think
Hmm.
if I remember the name, it was World's Strongest Family or Strongest, was
Yeah.
it something along
It
those
was
lines?
TLC. It was My Crazy Obsession. It
Oh, it
was
was TLC.
TLC.
Okay,
And
yeah,
it was the World's Strongest Family. Yeah, that was probably 13 years ago now. 13,
okay, and
13, 14
so
years ago.
so you had already been making making waves in the strongman.
Hmm.
How long was it for your kids to start to get involved and say like, hey dad, I want to start working out with you? Now, how long was that transition when they started to see you training in the gym versus to where they started to approach you and say, hey, I actually want to start doing what you're doing?
Hmm. They actually just followed along. We never really kind of pushed anything towards them. We let them make their own decisions. We just led by example. I mean, and they started coming in at an early age. Jess would come in and play with the stuff. Dylan would come in and play with the stuff. We'd give them guidance. We'd make sure their form was good and stuff like that. Things, basic things to make sure their technique was right so they wouldn't have injuries. And then we just let them do what they want, and then let them come to us and ask them what we think they should do to improve. And they both grew a love for it. And now they both train all the time. So if you lead them to it and nurture it, you're going to be fine. If you push it on them, they're either going to get into it and love it, or they're going to turn around and hate it. And I'd rather them discover it and enjoy it, and then go, "Oh, Dad, you're pretty good at this, I guess. What do you think of this? How should I do with this?" And it's neat when they come up and ask the questions, because then they get my point of view on things, and they go execute, and you can just see them improve rather quickly. So it's fun. It's a joy for me. It truly is.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. I mean, it's nice to see, and especially now that your kids are older and grown, and
Mm,
and them kind of following in those same footsteps. Um, so when you started to kind of build out that home gym,
mhm.
um, what were some of those main pieces outside of the more strongman type
Mhm.
of equipment where you either had to have like a friend help make, or you had to kind of, go down the deep avenues to find those more kind of traditional pieces, whether it was a squat rack or a bench. Like, what was your process of going through and trying to determine what equipment was best for you?
Well, you have a limited space, so you need to figure out ways to train with the space that you have. I mean, for me, it was either a squat rack or like powerlifting stands where you could squat and bench out of them. And then I managed to adapt those with some jerk boxes to where I could do everything I could with a power rack. So that was my progression, but I started with a power rack. I just had difficulty with where I put my hands on the bar, re-racking the weight. So for me, safety wise, getting regular jack stands with a bench press turned out to be the best thing for me. But for regular people, I would start with a cage, start with good bars, good weights, stuff like that. And then you need a flat bench that'll also go to incline, a multi-purpose bench, and then, dumbbells, stuff like that. If you can invest into like a cable machine of some sort to put up against your wall, that'll allow you to train an awful lot of things. So you can do lat pull downs and push downs, and you can do rows and stuff like that. So, I mean, there's a plethora of things you can do with not that big of an investment in equipment is my point. And those are
Right.
the basic things to start, just get people going.
Where, and I know for a strongman that your folks was probably a little bit different, but you know, one of the things that we'll be doing at Home Gym Con is we'll be kind of working within the strongman throwdown games
Hmm.
as well.
Yeah, that's gonna be
For
fun.
the aspiring strongman, what were like your key ingredients? And I don't know, maybe you've answered this before, but
Hmm.
for someone who's trying to get into the strongman world, um, they're probably discovering too, and there are other companies that are now starting to fill that void.
Hmm.
But what would be, if you had a top five, top seven list of, if you're getting into strongman training, these are the things that you've got to have. What would be that list?
Well, first, Atlas Stones is at almost every single contest. So Steve Slater makes Atlas Stone molds. So get some of those. Get a 19, a 20, and a 21-inch stone. You can either put foam in them or you can put lead in them to change the weights up and down. Make 3 of each of those sizes. If this is for men, women, you can get the smaller size, slightly smaller sizes. You can probably get like the 16, the 18, and the 19, because you'll run into a few that are bigger than 19, but not too much. Um, and then have a good set of stones, because you're gonna have to do stones. A log, you're gonna need a log, because there's log in probably 70% of the shows. So logs are good to have. Deadlifting of some sort, and the ability to raise the bar up or put the bar down from that. So like a jerk box, some type of thing like that, where you can get many different heights out of your deadlifting, because deadlifts are very rarely conventional, or if they are, they're with a stiff bar or whatever. You have to get good bars. You really do. Bear Steel makes great bars, whether they're squat bars or deadlift bars. You should really look at those. They're solid all the way around. Um, those are going to be like good places to start. A farmer's walk handles, because not only can you train farmer's walk with them, you can train shrugs, and you can get where you can go heavier and still get reps, like 300-400 pounds in each hand, and do shrugs with them. You can work the heck out of your grip with them. It's a great basic thing. It's good for cardio because you can run down, run back. The foot movement on a farmer's is the same as a yoke. It's just you got to practice a little bit putting the yoke on your shoulders. If you got to choose between farmers and yoke, grab the farmers. I mean, your footwork's the same when you're running with the weights. So definitely get a farmer's set of farmers handles. And then after that, it's kind of sandbags and a keg. Kegs are easy to get. You just walk up to the bar. They have a $50 cooperage fee for them. offer them the $50 cooperage fee to get back, and then you have a keg. It's pretty simple stuff. And then, you can put water in it. You can put concrete in it. Most of mine are full of concrete. I got 3 that are all the way full. They're 330 pounds each. I got another one that's got 2.5 bags of cement in it, so it's about 290 pounds. Then another one that's halfway, that's a little bit lighter, so I have some different weights to play with there. And then sandbags. Get you some good sandbags. Get a couple for tossing, and then probably get 3 different weights for sandbags. So you're not going to go broke doing it, and it's good. It's a good investment in yourself, and you can do so much with all that equipment. With sandbags, you can shoulder them, you can carry them, you can pick them up and slam them down. There's tons of different exercises you can do with them. Same with kegs. Similarly, you can carry them, lift them overhead. There's a lot of stuff you can do with them as well. That'll be a pretty good basic start to a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, pretty much that's your full body regiment right there. I mean,
Mhm.
you can hit just about every possible movement, I think,
Yeah.
from that list that you gave. I mean, and that's a good list too. Even though I'm not in that strongman realm, it's always been, at least from my perspective, it's always fun to watch because it's very much a feats of strength,
Mhm.
no holds bar. So as you were training for this stuff, and again, like thinking about it from a home gym perspective, does your neighbors ever think like, what the hell is this guy doing? Like, this
Yeah.
guy's insane. And like, I'm sure that the neighbors were probably like, what is this? Like they
Mhm.
probably thought you were getting ready for like a Viking conquest or something. Um, what exactly, how did that work with the neighbors? Because some of this stuff, and you've shown on your socials as well,
Mhm.
some things you got to do outside. You got to use either the sidewalk or you're out in the road doing things like,
Mhm.
how did all of that, kind of work its way out?
Most of the stuff worked out pretty darn well. It really did. Most of the neighbors were okay with it. Um, they just thought it was funny. They came out and watched, like after we first moved in and started doing all this stuff. They come out and watch for a while, and then they got used to it, and they just knew, Saturdays and Sundays you hear some booming or some dropping. Nick's out there training, but nobody really had any problems with it. We had a guy that lived across from us for probably 4 or 5 years who absolutely didn't like it. He called the parking authority, he called all these other things, but they would come and start saying stuff. And then my training partners, who are both police officers, would come out. We're not blocking the street. There's no violation here. And if you continue to harass them, I'll be calling your supervisor. And they all went away. So it was good.
Yeah, I mean that's the one thing. It's you know sometimes not everybody is as appreciative of kind of what you're trying to do, and
And
it
I
can
feel
certainly
very
put a damper on things.
I was pretty blessed with the neighbors we had. They were very
Yeah.
accommodating. They really were. But you know, people show up out there. Frank Mir shows up and starts training. Hop Door shows up. Brian comes out. Eddie's there. You know, all these guys been out to the house. Mitchell Hooper came out. You see all these guys that come out to the house, and they just like walk up, and the neighbors are like, "Can we talk to them?" Yeah, they're my friends. Just walk up and say hi, and if you want to take a picture with them and stuff, that's fine. Just realize we're training until we're done. Just let us train. But other than that, yeah, they don't care. So it was good. It was fun.
Did it ever have an influence to where uh, it actually got one of the neighbors or several of the neighbors actually into fitness? Did it ever actually leak itself over into that?
Oh yeah, there's quite a few people that like you see them out and they start like walking and training and doing stuff. I'm like, hey, that's good. That's what we want you to do. I mean, the more you take care of your look, if you're going to invest in retirement, then you have to invest in your body. Don't bother investing in retirement if you don't invest in your body. You're not going to be able to spend or use the money for retirement if you don't put that effort and investment in your body itself. You're going to retire at 65 to 70 years old, and you're not going to be able to do anything. And what fun's that going to be? So put the investment in your retirement, and then put the investment in your body for retirement. You're going to be healthier. You're going to be at the doctor less. You're going to have less problems. You're going to be on less medication, and you're going to be doing things, that the 20-years can do it when you're 70 and 80 years old. And at the end of the day, that's all that really matters, is having fun and enjoying, your whole entire life, not just the middle part of it.
Um, some of the I'm looking at a list here of some of the things that you've accomplished,
Mhm.
such as the if I've got this right, the world record for the farmer's walk, right? It says International Federation of Strength Athletes, and I believe there was another world record. Wasn't was it the elephant carry? Was that the other one?
Yeah, I got a couple different on the shields, but yeah, the elephant at World's Strongest Man. Yeah, I went the farthest with that thing.
Yeah. So, and so for people who
That was
don't know, that
440 pounds. Elephant's head.
it's like a huge stone that's kind of like almost like a badge shaped, right? And you carry it up underneath. Is that correct?
It was a steel elephant's head with like a trunk hanging down, and you grabbed it around where the ears would be, and then lifted it up. It was 200 kilos. It was serious. It was 440. It was
so
damn heavy.
For those types. So going in and training for a World's Strongest Man. Do they tell you ahead of time what kind of lifts that you're going to be partaking in?
They're very vague with what they tell you. You'll have a yoke medley. That's all we know. They don't tell you the weight. They don't tell you the distance. They'll say deadlift for reps. Okay, well, you have a deadlift for reps. Deadlift for max, deadlift ladder. Not until usually about the time where you show up or you're a couple weeks out will they give you the actual weights on them. They'll give you a range sometimes, and then with experience, the Atlas stones, the last Atlas stone there is 462. So you're going to have to load a 462 to 54 inches. So it's certain things certain things you don't.
Right.
And you learn those from do the events a lot and knowing what all their equipment is.
Yeah. So as you started coming up in this profession and, maybe not necessarily knowing what events were going to be presented to you, how did your training, how did that impact kind of the training at home? Did you have to go to specialized gyms to kind of pick up the differences for things that you weren't getting at home? What was that transition like from, as you started to become a full-time competitor while trying to train at home, but maybe you didn't have everything that you quite would need?
I would just find a way to get the equipment that I needed, and then I would train at home, and then I would makeshift things. Like on Australia, I got the world record in the hip lift. Mike Jenkins and I still hold the record at like 2,534 pounds. On the hip lift, I trained with that by using a 500-pound frame that I have on the side of the house, and was able to put 100-pound plates all around the corners of it, and then I just set it up to where I could train it in the middle of the cul-de-sac. It was a pain to set up, but you get pretty inventive with the way you train things. You call the promoter and you ask as much as you can for much as information on the event as you can, and turned out that one it worked. So we ran out of weight though, which was pretty funny. We had to stop.
That's a hard thing to do now.
Yeah, the two of us, we did it so much we ran out of weight. We went up there. They didn't expect us to. We were 100 kilos over the former world record.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, it looks like all that work paid off. So
it did.
A little ingenuity can go a long way then, I guess.
Yeah. So you think outside the box, you do the best you can to create the event as best you can. Brian went out and bought a lot of stuff. I went out and bought a lot of things, or would adapt things to wherever the event was through things that I already had.
Was there anything at one point, because one of the things that I think I've grown to love about just having the home gym in general too is the DIY section. Was there anything that was just a straight up like Frankenstein idea where it wasn't really created yet and you were like, well, I've got to make this my own, whether it was for your own training or just something that you wanted to do because you thought it was fun?
Yeah, there are a few things. Like when we first started having to do the block press all the time, I went to the store. I made a mold out of wood and put it together, poured the concrete in there, and kept adjusting. I had to pour 4 or 5 to get to the weight that I needed and get it sized right, um, and then figure out how to keep it from breaking every time you dropped it. So that was definitely one of the Frankenstein moments. Just about every Atlas stone that I have, I poured myself. So those were pretty Frankenstein moments. The Atlas stone platforms that I have, sat down with a carpenter and came up with the design of everything that I had or still have, and put that together. That was definitely a Frankenstein thing because now I can put the stones on top of the platform or underneath the platform, and then I have doors to store everything as well. So it became a pretty good use of space. Doing truck pulls and stuff like that, you do a lot of Frankenstein, and you take a regular truck and then you put down like 100-pound truck tire on the back of that truck, and then you drop a 300-pound sandbag on it. It's very much like pulling a semi at World's Strongest Man. So it's all just thinking out of the box and adapting what you have available to be able to train that. Usually it ends up being harder to do what you Frankenstein than it is in the contest. So it's easy. You come into the contest and you got everything set up right and easy and smooth, and it just rolls better and you compete better.
Yeah, that's a great story. I mean, it's how much of that stuff do you still have?
All of it. All of it. And then like I
Yeah.
sat down with Steve Slater at one time and designed a block to press that's a loadable block out of steel. And so, but it doesn't take weights. It takes sand and lead shot. So you can make it as heavy as you want. It'll move around a little bit, but it's not too bad. You pack it full of like rubber, rubber beads, stuff like that. And it can be a little lighter. You pack it full of sand or lead shot, it can be a little heavier. So it's a pretty neat thing. You just come up with things and talk to somebody, hey, can you make this? And they make it. Same thing with Pritchett. Pritchett will do that too. Give you ideas, you come up with stuff. So it's good stuff.
Yeah. 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 The DIY side of things has always been just an overall fun method to see, like, if your harebrained ideas actually work. And
Right.
I think more times than not, they seem to get the mission accomplished. Even if version one doesn't necessarily do everything, it gives you the idea to say, okay, well, I got to make some tweaks here and there, and in many cases too, it actually can lead to a full blown product release
Right.
or something within that realm. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, what would you say, like in terms of equipment? Is there something that like the strongman community as a whole is there something that you know they're still saying like, man, we still don't have this whatever product available? Is there anything out there like that you guys are still kind of trying to do on your own without any other company
I
kind of
mean,
fulfilling that?
yeah, the biggest issue is going to be like pulling vehicles now because there's tons of different yokes, there's tons of different farmers, there's all kinds of gym equipment now. Most of that stuff's pretty together. The hardest thing now is going to be like when you're pulling trucks, whether it's arm over arm or just regular truck pull harness and rope. Um, those are going to be probably the hardest issues of things to get access to now. Um, but for most of the other stuff, they're building all the things. The equipment has got so much better, and I mean leaps and bounds better over the last 10 years. I mean, it's the stuff they were doing yokes on in China in 2013 is completely different now, where they had like two little bolts holding the whole thing together, and if one of those bolts sheared off, that was the end of the event.
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. That most of that now to this point, the sport's grown to the point where a lot of those things are gone. Um, Brian keeps innovating some amazing stuff. The keg chest press was like absolutely amazing.
I saw that. That was
Yeah.
wild, and it looks like he's working solely with looks like a local fabricator to get some of that stuff done. And uh, it's going to be awesome to see you competing at the Strongest Man on Earth, and
Hmm.
because I know you were helping out with that last year.
Hmm.
Uh, so seeing in what like he's doing versus some of the other competitions, is there what's making uh, his events more unique than maybe a World's Strongest Man or an Arnold Strongman? Is there anything that you can define as like definitively different, or is it just the way in which he's promoting it, the style?
He's doing it solely for the betterment of the sport. Period. He's doing everything he can to make the sport advance and go forwards, return the spectacle to the sport, and get the guys to where they're making decent money doing this, beating up their bodies and stuff like that. Because I mean, you love doing it. You're gonna, I mean, honest with you, we did this when we didn't get paid, so because we loved it, and it
Right.
just turned out to be popular enough to where we could start actually making some money, and in a lot of cases, making a living from it, which is amazing. I never thought when this started we are gonna be doing that. It's just like you get enough to reimburse like your travel and all the other stuff and not go broke doing it. But now it's developed to the point where you can actually make some decent money at it. And Brian keeps pushing those forward, not allowing um, the other companies to sit back and just like and uh, not push forwards, not increase the prize money, not do better for the athletes. I mean, the way the athletes get treated now is 1,000 times better than when we got in. I mean, you go to World's Strongest Man, you got your family can't come back, your friends couldn't come back. It was just two girls that knew nothing about the sport that worked for the production company. And so we all had to take care of ourselves. That's why the camaraderie between us was so good, is everything we had to do, we had to help each other doing it. If we wanted to warm up, we had to go help each other warm up, load the weights for each other, do all that stuff together because nobody was doing it for us. And nobody could come back and help us. No, the coaches were back there. Our wives couldn't even come back unless it was to the medical tent after we got injured or something. Other than that, it was just us back there. So now you can come back, you can have a coach or two, you can have your significant other come back and see you and stuff like that. They can have a better position to watch from, things like that. And it's just courtesies were great that are there now, weren't there when we were uh, just getting into it. And in the
Yeah.
2004 to the 2000, probably it started getting better in 2014. So from that point on, it just
That's
got
a
a little
long
better.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long time. That's one of the things. So you mentioned that camaraderie. That's one
Mm-hmm.
of the things that I would say from an outsider looking in. That was the even more so than bodybuilding,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the camaraderie, and especially you could witness that on your the History Channel show that you were featured in,
Mm-hmm.
the Strongest Man in History. Uh, the four of you guys just not only like
Yeah.
you guys all had that moment when you could turn it on, but yet
Mm-hmm.
you may have wanted to win an event, but at the same time you guys were actively cheering, and it wasn't for fake. It was
Right.
you guys were genuinely happy for one another when they competed. And I wonder now after you mentioning some of that is you know if they were like you guys were kind of you had no other choice but to rely on each other,
Mm-hmm. Which is
and
good.
and so you can kind of see some of that,
Mm-hmm.
showcase itself.
Yeah. And the thing is we try to pass that down to the next generation because we do not want that to get lost. That is one of the things that is so good about this sport, and we do not want that to get lost. And a lot of the guys are that most of the guys are that way. There's a lot of camaraderie between the guys. There's a couple beefs here and there, but it's not too bad. Some of that's created, some of it's not. Um, but for the most part, the guys all pretty much enjoy each other and hang out with each other and talk and catch up and hang out and stuff like that, which is so great about the sport. I mean, it's just the camaraderie that we do have. And the older generation is trying to say, hey guys, this is the way it used to be, and you need to take care of each other. because if you don't, nobody else is going to. So look out for each other. So it's
Well, and it seems like that is not falling on deaf ears. It seems like
yeah,
that is continuing to happen, especially, as you mentioned, you had Mitchell Hooper and
hmm
Thor, and these guys are coming to. They're not going to a gym. They're going to your house,
right.
and they're training
It's pretty
at
special.
your gym, and that's one of the more fun things that you could possibly wish for is to have. Instead of sitting around a fire drinking beer, you're sitting at the gym, and you guys are deadlifting, you're benching, and you guys are all cheering for each other.
Oh yeah, I mean it's
There's a special thing about that.
there's been some surreal things that sometimes I believe can't happen. Could that actually happen? I mean, last year, for instance, Ed Cohen was staying with me, and that was my childhood idol. I mean, I've always looked up to Ed, and he's one of, people say don't meet your heroes. Well, meet your heroes because he's that good of a guy. He really is, and he's that knowledgeable, and he still helps me to this day. I mean, he helped me through 1996 when I won nationals. I was like, "Who you got helping you?" I'm like, "None of my friends could make it." And he's like, "Him and Kurt Kozlowski are like, you want us to help?" I'm like, "Yeah." Did I say that too fast? And they helped me through it, and I ended up winning that year. So it's pretty neat. I got Ed staying at my house. You know, Mitchell's like, "Hey, can I come over and train and get some training in on some of the equipment you have?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Is it okay if I bring four? I'm like, "Yeah." He's always welcome here because he's been there before already. And while we're going through all that, Brian shows up because he had a package sent to my house. So he came up to pick it up, and here we got you know the goat and three world's strongest men sitting at the house, hanging out, training, and just talking and BSing and having fun. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. And Mutant got it all on tape, so it was really cool. It was probably one of the neatest things, completely unplanned. So it's
Yeah.
neat. It was really special to me. It really was, and you know it's neat because you're not going to get that many of those in your lifetime. So it's cool.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of what the home gyms
hmm
allow for. The
Yeah.
environment is conducive for that,
hmm
and because just like most things, even though the equipment might be advanced, things like that, it's still a primitive environment
Yes.
where it's very like me lift heavyweight, kind of deal where
Me pick
and
up,
and
me
and
put down,
everyone's
me
yes,
go
me
fast.
pick up, me put down, me help next man. It's
Yeah.
very very primitive in that nature, and any you know red blood American seems to agree with that,
hmm
with that premise. So it's a lot of fun, and kind of transitioning into one of the things that brought you and I together is Home Gym Con.
hmm
I went last year for the first time as a vendor, and it's a pretty fascinating experience. And I know this will be your first event. Uh, but between the Strongman Throwdown event and the multitude of companies that are going to be there, you're going to see people that are very much like you and I
hmm
and everyone else. They all have gyms in their home, or they're planning to be, and they're trying to find from all of these companies, what's going to be the best fit for them. And I think that's been one of the really cool things that Jake, who's running the Home Gym Con event, I
hmm
think that's been one of the great things that he's been able to do is kind of showcase um, a specific event just for people that are looking to buy for their home gym. So I guess uh, from your perspective, what would be some things that you're kind of excited to to take a look at and see, because there's going to be you're going to see the biggest brands that are going to be there, and then you're going to have one man shops like myself and
Right.
everybody in between. What are some things that maybe you're excited to take a look at?
I'm excited to take a look at it and just go walk around and see what everybody has to offer, because every time you look around, somebody comes up with some new innovation, and you're like kind of looking at going, this is going to work and this is going to work well. I'm going to be looking for things that have multiple uses. just due to limited space, which everybody from garage gym is pretty much going to do. You try to find things you can get many different exercises out of and uses out of. But I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see the people. But the equipment's going to be kind of neat. The big manufacturers are going to have the big manufacturer stuff. It's the little guys that come up with, in all honesty, the more innovation stuff that I'm looking for. The stuff you've come up with is really cool, all on your own. So I'm looking forward to going just seeing new ways of attacking things and learning.
That's a good way to put it. I mean, it is something that for a lot of us, even some of the smaller manufacturers, they've in many ways we've all kind of solved smaller problems, but they were also problems that we were experiencing at whatever given time period, and then it just kind of picked up after that. So, but it, I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely excited to have you there.
No, me too.
And for those that don't know, in case that you've been living under a rock recently, Nick's going to be there
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, June 28th.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be there all day with us at our booth, and we'll be right across from the Strongman Throwdown as well. So there's
Mm-hmm.
going to be a lot of good things. Hopefully, you guys can come out and take a look, and Nick will be out and about as well. So it's going to be a great event, and it's a chance to kind of bring all the garage gym, home gym people together, and convene and fellowship, if you will.
Yes.
So
the fellowship is actually probably the coolest thing about the whole thing, because you get around a bunch of like-minded people and you can just talk shop all day long, and it is fun.
yeah,
And
it is
new things that work, things that you tried that don't work, saving some of the effort for going through that. Yeah, and then coming out, meeting people, taking pictures with people, hanging out, showcasing your stuff. It's just going to be fun all the way around. I cannot wait. I'm like, are we ready to go yet?
I know it seems like the quickest, longest time to get there. So,
I know.
But it's going to be a good time. So,
Mhm.
but I think we're probably just about wrapped up here. But Nick, I want to thank you, man.
No
Looks
problem,
like
Sean.
Matt was never able to come back, but
Poor Matt.
yeah, I know,
He
poor
got
Matt.
lost.
But yep, he did. But I appreciate the time, Nick.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
a lot, man. And we'll be seeing you here in what about a little over a week, I think
Yeah,
now,
a
right?
little over a week. I'll see you in
About
less than 10
a
days.
week and a half or so.
Mhm.
So yeah, and this will be out before then too. Hopefully in the next couple of days. So,
Sweet. Well,
but
cool. Well, thank you
I
so
appreciate
much.
it, man.
I can't wait to see you guys. This is gonna be fun. And
It will be. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a blast.
come up and say hi. Come up, say hi. If you have questions for me, ask them. I don't mind. I love talking to people and giving them and opening up their eyes to doing things in a different way. So yeah, absolutely. Come up and say hi.
Yeah. Bring your lifting shoes.
Be ready.
So, all right, Nick. Appreciate it, brother.
Thanks, Sean. All right, I will talk
Thank
to
you,
you
man.
later.
We'll see you soon.
Okay.
Okay, buddy.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.